How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Today I'm going to talk about why I quit engineering. I quit my engineering job about 9 months ago and it was paying over 100K every single year. Now I get a lot of comments of why I would do such a thing because I essentially moved from a six-figure salary into something much less. Right now I'm making much less than a six-figure engineering job actually. But you know what, you guys? Knowing what I know now, I think it's a very, very good decision. It's life-changing because now I am so much more happier than when I was at that job. I didn't really think about it in terms of quitting engineering altogether. I just thought, oh, I'm going to try out this YouTube thing for a while. Maybe I'll go back. I don't really say I'm going to quit engineering forever. The point here is I quit engineering for a company. I did not quit engineering altogether because at its core, I still really like engineering. I like, building little electronic projects. I like designing stuff. The problem I think here is actually working for someone in an engineering aspect. Hey, Francis. Yes, boss? I'm gonna need that TPS report, but isn't that just paperwork? Yeah, at this company, we do paperwork. But if I work on the main project, I can get it done in a day or two. If I do this TPS report, it's gonna delay that. Yeah, you know what? I just wanna see the results of this report, just to satisfy my curiosity. Here's my report. Okay, let me see this. Looks good. I didn't know the results was 0.1. Ah, that's good to know. Good what? Good to know? What are you gonna do with that report? Nothing. What? Nothing? For those of you that do not know, I have a bachelor's and master's in electrical engineering from UCLA. I'm not saying all engineering jobs are bad. There are some very select few that are really, really good. It just so happens that I never, work for that many of those. So here it is. I made a list of all the core reasons why I think I left. The number one thing is basically the bureaucracy. There is bureaucracy everywhere I go. Every single job that I had bureaucracy, and I just absolutely hated it. There's always office paperwork to do. It's not the core engineering thing that you want to do. It's about, like half the time that you spend at work is real engineering. The other half is just paperwork. It's like, oh yeah, you gotta, do documentation or something. And I know this is necessary, but it's not that fun to do that stuff. Commuting is a big one for me because it's just essentially a waste of time for me. Every single time I'm in the car waiting in traffic, I feel like this life sucked out of me. By the time I get to work, I lose, a good 20-30% of my energy already. So I only have 70% when I'm at work. And then at the end of an 8-hour day, you're down to like 30%. And then by the time you get home, you're like negative energy already. You can't do anything else. So the commuting was essentially killing me, even though, it's not as bad as many people. Mine was like 20-30 minutes. So, even at that, it was, really horrible for me. When you're at a job, you're obligated to do work events. Sometimes, it's framed as in like a social event. For me, it's not. Sometimes, you have these holiday parties. Sometimes it might be really fun, depending on your coworkers. I had, worked at some places where I had really fun coworkers. I worked at some where, it's like an older demographic. So when you go, you are essentially, using your own time when you're not getting all that much back from it. I know it's optional, but then, you really have to go anyway to keep up your relationship with all your coworkers. So, I call it optional, sort of obligational. Your ideas essentially become their ideas. Any ideas that you conjecture out while during work time is essentially owned by your company, including patents. So it's like all these good stuff, the essence of your brain is being given. Well, you're not really giving it to them. They're giving you a salary. So you're exchanging, I would call it life force, kind of, for a salary. So if you are the type that can convert this life essence or all your ideas into something much bigger, then you're essentially giving away much more than what you're being paid back in terms of salary. Of course, not everyone is able to do this. The people that are able to convert their ideas into something much bigger, well, you shouldn't be working for a company, then you should quit and then go and pursue something so that you can get more value out of your ideas rather than just a salary. One of the things that really bothered me is over the course of working for companies for many, many years, Every now and then I would have these great ideas that align with business purposes, at least from my perspective. I think it's awesome. They should really, really do it. But then when I present it to my boss or whoever, they would think, no, you can't do this. Sorry. Do this other thing instead, which is, not as fun. Sometimes it might be completely stupid. For example, I had this whole idea of creating this wireless device. I had to do the programming and stuff. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and I have every intention of completing it. And I outlined something like 9 months in order to complete the project. What happened was, that idea was rejected, and instead they wanted to use a third-party device where we had no control over the firmware. So we brought this device in, and I still was supposed to be responsible for it. And yes, this product, eventually it sort of worked, kind of worked, but then this product was never brought to market because it had its difficulties. There's something wrong with it, and yet we're not controlling the firmware itself. If we did it the way I did it, then we would have had control of the firmware. If there's any issues at all, we can go, we can change it at will and stuff. This is what good companies do. They have control over the firmware. They don't just contract things out and go, I'm just going to rebrand certain things. So you have certain levels of companies where, you just are you a rebrander or are you a designer of the product itself? Another issue that came as a hard realization for me is your earnings potential is capped. The longer you are in a certain career, it starts to taper off a little bit. Although, I was seeing some good growth still, but then I realized quickly that if I wanted to get paid more, I essentially need to move into management or something. And, for me, I'm not too interested in climbing the corporate ladder. When you are freelancing and you do things at your own pace, you do what you want to do, what you think is best for you. You don't have anyone to report to. You essentially you're responsible for what you think is best. And like I said in my previous video, sometimes it might be wrong, sometimes it might be right, but at least is what you think should be done correctly. And over time, you're going to learn how to do things much faster, and you can just follow your advice and save a lot of time. So why did I quit engineering? Is because I can, because I reached this financial security point enough. I think if I'm not as financially secure, I would have been stuck. I actually was eyeing of quitting. I didn't even contemplate such a thing until I think about 2 years ago when my YouTube started doing a little bit better. And I'm like, hey, you know what? This might actually work. It's only because of YouTube that I'm able to make this transition. Of course, if I'm like a lot of other YouTubers where you just kind of jump headfirst into YouTube and just, earn a very little amount of money, then it would be a lot harder for me. My situation is actually a lot different than a lot of other YouTubers because I'm not solely relying on YouTube income in order to sustain myself. At the same time, I built up enough of a nest egg where I feel comfortable to only rely on YouTube income. And on top of this, I reduced my recurring expenses, my burn rate so low that my YouTube could go down by a lot, many multiple folds, and I would still feel very comfortable. So in the end, I would have to sum up why I quit engineering in terms of I was able to because of my financial status. 2, your engineering salary is essentially capped. So I sort of made this move to try to earn even more than in my engineering. And 3 is basically to control my own time more. Don't like the bureaucracy. I want to be able to apply my engineering skills in other ways, not just do file paperwork. So in the end, I don't really consider myself quitting engineering altogether. It's more like me quitting the engineering job. I feel like once I have a little bit more free time in, reducing the amount of uploads in my finance channel, I'll have a little bit more time to do other engineering endeavors. So my master's in electrical engineering won't go to waste, really. I'm still going to use the knowledge obtained, all this electrical know-how. I can still apply it to other projects, except, I can apply it selfishly, to things I want to do myself. I hope you enjoyed this video and clears up why I actually quit engineering. If you're interested in supporting this channel, check out my Audible link down in the video description below where you can get a free audiobook. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell icon to get notifications. Thanks for watching.